Hi, this is Owen Fitzpatrick, founder of the Online Charisma Training Academy and author of the book, The Charismatic Edge. And in this free video, I want to share with you what are the 7 essentials of great leaders. Now, I've been studying leadership for quite a number of years now, and over the last 20 years I've been working and learning all I could about how to help people to perform more effectively. I've been fascinated with communication and your ability to become more charismatic, your ability to be able to inspire people and influence people and make a real difference to people. And what I've learned from all of the research that I've done and all of the study has been a number of different factors that continuously stand out from the very best leaders. If you take the very best leaders, whether it's someone who's a great inspiring figure like Mother Teresa, to someone who creates a movement like Martin Luther King or like Gandhi, what you'll notice from the very best, most inspirational leaders out there is that there's a number of different things that they tend to have in common. Even though there might be very different personalities, there's a number of different fundamental essentials that underlie all great leaders. In this video, I want to share with you from my own perspective, and I've been lucky enough to be able to get a lot of different perspectives on the notion of leadership. I've been, as I said, studying charisma for quite a while. Over the last 15, 20 years, I've been examining what makes a person charismatic and how can you learn to be more charismatic in the Online Charisma Training Academy, along the book Charismatic Edge, and way before that, even for my master's thesis in psychology, I was studying the most charismatic individuals I could find, asking the question, what makes them charismatic and how can I learn to do the same thing and how can I teach other people to do the same thing? And in all the seminars I teach from Japan to South America, the Art of Charisma courses that I've been running have always been courses that have been sharing with people different insights into how they could communicate with more impact. Now, what's interesting about that from a leadership perspective is that the charisma understandings or insights actually connect very well with the leadership insights, because being an effective leader largely is down to how charismatic you are. Now, that doesn't mean all great leaders are necessarily charismatic, but many, many of them are. So again, from that perspective, I've got a lot of good insights into what makes a really powerful communicator in terms of a leader, which is obviously one of the aspects of leadership which is quite important. But also from doing leadership development programs and doing leadership coaching with some of the top CEOs and billionaires and heads of multinational companies, what I've been lucky enough to do is understand quite a lot about the kinds of ways of thinking and the kinds of attributes that they have. And by studying these people as I've worked with them and they've hired me to improve their performance or improve their ability to communicate more charismatically, but I've also been learning quite a lot. So what I want to do in this video is share with you all of my experience condensed into these 7 essentials. Imagine having the opportunity to have 20 years of completely focused study on charisma and communication and leadership, all condensed in just the next few minutes. So please, whatever else you're doing, if you're doing anything else, please stop and pay as close attention as you can, because I want to give you the 7 most important things that you can learn about leadership, so that you can start to, whether you're a manager, whether you've got a team in front of you, even if you're the head of a sports team or you're a captain, I want to share with you what the 7 fundamental ingredients of the most effective leaders are. And I want to do so in the next few minutes. So please do stay with me, pay total attention, because I want to give it right all to you right now. Okay? We got a deal? Excellent. I'm sure you just said yes to me. I'll totally take that as yes. Okay, so the first one is vision. And by vision, I mean that all of the great leaders that I've ever met all have a good ability to be able to not only see what it is that they want, to see an end goal, to be able to create an end goal, but also to be able to articulate that vision to the people that they're talking to their team, to their followers. They're able to create a kind of a movement because the vision they have is so compelling. You know, a lot of managers will say, well, this is what you need to do, or this is where you need to go, or this is the kinds of things we want to achieve. We want to improve productivity. We want to get an extra couple of results. We want to make sure our percentages increase. That's not a vision. That's just some objective. And again, if you go to work, imagine going to work every day just to get an objective. And a lot of people do that. And they wonder why they're not motivated. They wonder why they feel a bit of inertia every once in a while. But if you're going to work every day on your way to achieving some grand vision, if you see clearly what it is, the reason why you're doing things, it's going to change everything. You know, there's a great book out there called Start With Why, and there's a great notion about the power of the word why. And why is such an effective word? Because when you ask the question why, it drives you towards the motivation, the grand vision of why you're doing what you're doing. And the greatest leaders in the world all have that ability. When Martin Luther King made the famous speech, I Have a Dream, he didn't just say to the audience, here guys, here's what we want. We want civil rights. That's what we want. We want civil rights. That's not that compelling. I mean, it's a great idea. It's a great ideal. It's a wonderful goal to have, but it's not compelling enough. No. What Martin Luther King did was he talked about a dream. He said, I have a dream. And when he said those words, the passion that emanated from his body, the passion that emanated from his voice, the most incredible speaker I've ever seen. When he said it, he was creating a vision of the most amazing world. And you know, so many people, thousands of people that were at that march, hundreds of thousands of people that were watching that speech live, and millions of people across America, across the world, were galvanized because of the way he presented that vision. Again, an amazing leader demonstrating that when you can create a compelling vision, when you can create that dream, you can win people over. You can do that in your own company, in your own business. Of course, it mightn't be as noble in your own mind as what Martin Luther King did or what some of the other great leaders have done. But in your own mind, if you believe in what it is that you're doing and you're providing value with your product or your service, by creating that vision, a vision of how you can help people make a real impact on their life by what you offer. If, for example, you're a sports manager or you're the leader of a team and you're getting them to see how successful they can be if they're really performing at their very best, that's worth going for. And that's what you need to ensure that you paint a really clear picture of when you're talking to the people that you want to be a leader to, that you want to be able to inspire and motivate. So vision is absolutely essential. That's the first essential. The second essential is what I call strategic thinking. The most successful leaders are the ones that are strategic in their mind. Now, there's a difference between strategy and tactics. There's a difference between being strategic and being tactical. Tactical is figuring out what to do in a particular situation. Being strategic is thinking about it beforehand and planning it in the most effective way so that you're planning for the particular challenges that you might face along the road. In reality, whenever you have a vision, whenever you want to achieve anything, there's always going to be stumbling blocks. There's always going to be obstacles. Nothing is ever a smooth ride. In Ireland, we have a law called Murphy's Law, which is that if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. It'll go wrong when you most don't want it to. Now, the reality is that we find that does tend to happen a lot of times. No matter how prepared you are, stuff will happen and things will happen and get in the way when you least expect them to. But if you're thinking strategically, if you're thinking from a strategic place, what it means is that you're already planning for the potential challenges that might arise, and you're planning for exactly what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. Strategic thinking means planning and preparing for all eventualities that you can and ensuring that you know exactly what direction you're going down. It means thinking things through, being clever about all the different aspects of the particular vision, of the particular goal that you want to achieve, of the particular experience. Paying attention to what's going on, paying attention to all the different stakeholders that might have a say in you achieving that vision, and knowing exactly how to ensure that everyone's on board. Understanding what can go wrong and understanding what you're going to do about that. Understanding how long it will take. Being strategic means being able to be fantastic at solving the problems along the way because you're thinking cleverly before you actually do it. And that's a really important quality of leadership. The best leaders I've ever seen are the ones that are thinking like 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 steps ahead. They're already thinking, right, if this happens, then this will happen. And if that happens, then I need to do this. And if we do this and this and this, even if that happens, we're still going to be okay. So again, they're thinking through the different steps, the different challenges, the different obstacles that might get in the way, and they're planning very, very strategically exactly what to do. Again, you want to be more effective as a leader? Allow yourself to be more strategic. Think in a more strategic way, and you'll find yourself getting far better results. The next one is innovation. Now, again, there's With the current climate, the economic climate that we face in the world today, innovation has never been as important as it is right now. Because the reality is that we have more problems because we have more competition. Competition means that there's more companies, and globalization means from all over the world, more companies challenging our market space than has ever happened before. And when there is more competition, what that means is that we've got to continuously improve. We've got to continuously be better. Now, how do you get better? The only way to truly get better is to innovate. You have to come up with new ideas, new approaches, new ways to do things. You have to be able to develop your skills of innovation, which means being able to unlock your creativity and figure out how can you solve the problems that are there. Because invariably, as you start to improve and as you start to make progress, there will be problems that come up, and your ability to be able to overcome them isn't just about you being strategic about what to do. It's also about being innovative in how you tackle these issues or how you tackle these problems. Innovation is something that is not just down to the technological world, which a lot of times it's connected a little bit too much, if you ask me too. There's great innovation, of course, in technology, but innovation is something that all great leaders possess, or all great leaders need to possess in order for them to continue to evolve and continue to be great. Innovation means looking at a situation and asking yourself the question, how else can I do this? What are the things that I can create? Or what are the things that we can create? What else is possible? And all of the greatest products that you will ever see on the market is the result of genius innovation. All of the great companies that is producing products have been brilliant at innovating. That's what allows them to be so effective. So if you want to be a great leader, you need to be prepared to ask the questions, how else can I do something? How can I create a solution to this issue, a solution to this problem, or what else can we do? That's a beautiful question. What else can we do? You ask yourself that question, you'll find yourself being able to go after the answer, and that's going to enable you to be more innovative as a leader, which again is absolutely essential. The next one is performance. What do I mean by performance? Performance is a number of factors. Performance is, well, how are you when you're presenting your idea? How are you when you're presenting your idea to the board? How are you communicating with your boss? How are you communicating with your team? What sort of frame of mind are you in? How are you performing in terms of from a mental perspective? How are you thinking? How are you communicating? Performance is about looking after yourself and being able to make sure that you tap into your very best self so you're performing the best you can. Now, on some other videos I go into, well, how do you get your attitude right in the way in which you think about yourself, and how do you act in the most effective way as a leader, or how do you communicate or behave in ways that win over other people's hearts or minds? How do you ensure that you're making a true impact? But when I talk about performance, all of those are parts to it, but I'm also talking about productivity, your ability to manage time, your ability to focus, your ability to ensure that you're doing the right thing at the right time. You know, there's a principle in psychology called the Pareto principle, or the law of 80-20, the 80-20 rule. And again, it's talking about the fact that a lot of people spend, far too much of their time focusing on the non-essentials. Now, this very video is actually all about the essentials. So what I'm asking you to do is to focus on the most important things, which is what I'm sharing from my perspective through this video. But the 80-20 rule, the idea is that you need to be spending 80% of your time on the 20% most important tasks. So by improving your productivity, by improving your attitude, by improving the states or the frames of mind you're in, by looking after yourself, and by ensuring that whenever you're on, you're on. Whenever you're in a situation where you're presenting, you're continuously working to be at your very, very best. That's what I mean by performance. So how can you improve your performance? Well, again, there's lots of videos on the blog and lots of free videos that have been given out and, on how to improve how you perform and become a more effective leader. But also, it's really about you making sure that you take the time to improve yourself. A famous motivational speaker, a great mentor to me, was a guy called Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn once said that you've got to work harder on yourself than you do in your job. And what he meant by that was, if you want to be really, really great, you need to work on being really, really great. It's not just good enough to work hard, you got to work hard on you. and that will allow you to continuously improve your performance. Now, there's lots of other great skills like neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, and we do NLP courses with the Irish Institute of NLP that you can do, and it'll help you to be able to use your brain more and stuff like that. But the most important part of being a great performer is ensuring that you're deliberately working on yourself, you're practicing, you're becoming a student of yourself, and you're continuously working through how you can become more productive, become more energized, be in the best kind of states, communicate more powerfully, be able to win people over. In everything you do, you're the best you can be. That's what performance is truly about. And the greatest leaders I've ever seen, they have an amazing ability to perform when they most need to ensure that they're performing not just to the followers, not just to their team, but they're able to communicate the best they can. They're able to be the best they can when they most need to be. The next essential is the importance of influence. When I do the leadership development courses, one of the big differences between what I do and what a lot of other leadership development courses are, is that a lot of leadership development courses that I've seen and that a lot of the people that I would train have been good, but they focus on the models of leadership. They talk about theories this and theories that, and I think that's great, it's interesting. But when I'm going in to do a leadership development program, I'm not interested that much in the different theories. What I'm interested in is what are the most important things I can teach them that they can practice that makes them a better leader. So what are the things they need to do or skills they need to learn to become better leaders? And above everything, I think, the most important skill that you can possibly learn to become a more effective leader is a skill of influence. That's the skill of how do you influence or persuade someone to be believing or thinking what it is that you think? How do you influence someone to do something? I mean, after all, in a way, that's kind of like what motivation is. I mean, motivation is slightly different, albeit, but part of motivation involves you influencing people. Part of being able to win over any audience, if you're speaking to your followers, you're speaking to your team, in order to win them over and get them motivated towards a grand vision, you have to get them believing in that vision. You have to get them believing in the product or believing in the service or believing in the project. In order to get them believing, you have to understand how can you present yourself in the most effective way as the most persuasive person. You have to understand, well, how can you connect with them emotionally and move them with delivering the message in an emotional way? How can you logically reason and rationalize what it is that they need to do so you can present the message again in a compelling way from a logic perspective? And how do you understand the audience that you're speaking to? How do you influence them and move them towards where it is that they need to go? Influence is something that the very best leaders tend to do. Steve Jobs, a great leader, the head of Apple, when he was alive, one of the things that he became known for is what they call the reality distortion field. This means that Steve Jobs would talk to you and he would be able to convince you of something you thought was impossible. He would say it with such certainty, and the way he spoke, he was able to convince you. And as soon as you talked to him, you knew whatever limiting beliefs you had were soon going to go bye-bye. Because he had such an amazing ability to connect with you and to be able to influence you and persuade you towards believing what it is that was more beneficial for you. And part of your job is to get the team that you're working with to believe more themselves. So the skills of influence are absolutely essential. Handling difficult people, being able to win over people to your cause, being able to get people aligned with your strategy, all of that requires your ability to be really successful and really skilled at influence. That's absolutely essential. Then we've got motivation, which is connected with influence. The difference being, influence is about helping people change their beliefs and change the way in which they think, whereas motivation is about getting them driven. And part of that comes back to the very first notion of the vision. If you can create a compelling vision, you'll be able to motivate them. But it's not just about creating that wonderful vision. It's not just about answering the question why. That's part of motivation, and part of it's about influence. But motivation is also about being aware of what drives people. You see, what drives you is not necessarily the same as what drives me. And what drives the different members of your team is not necessarily the same either. So some people might be more driven by status. So in order to motivate them, you have to be able to appeal to their status. If they do this, then it's going to make them look good. With other people, it might be more money. So again, it's pretty simple in terms of how you apply that. If you do this, then you'll get bonuses, etc. With some people, it's just fun. You make it more fun and they'll be more motivated to do it. With some people, they need to be challenged. They need to be told, well, this is going to be difficult for you, and they need to be pushed. With other people, it could be a simple case of control. They need to feel like they have some control over what it is that they do. So there's different people with different motivational drivers. And if you can understand what it is that drives people, what it is that motivates people, you'll be in a position to motivate them too. And again, that's one of the essentials of great leaders. And then lastly, the notion of stories. Now, stories seems to stand out a little bit from the rest of the list. So what is it that I mean by stories? Well, stories really are a vehicle through which you do most of this. Stories are your ability to be able to engage, powerfully engage the teams that you work with, the people that are listening to you. The greatest leaders are the ones that are able to use stories and use metaphors to be able to capture the imagination of their audience, to be able to lead them towards a happy ever after of the great vision. The greatest speeches that you've ever heard, the greatest speakers use stories. They make it clear, they make it vivid, they get you imagining what it is that they're talking about. Coming back to what I began at the very beginning when I talked about Martin Luther King and his grand vision of the dream, that was a story. It was a story of what wonderful changes can happen if we all just do the right thing. And if you can share with people the stories that make the difference, if you can share with them the stories that have inspired you, the stories that have transformed the world, if you can share the stories that make a huge difference, that will create a notion of transcendence. Because what it will lead to is it will lead to people seeing what is truly possible. Every single time that you want to persuade or influence someone, you can do it so effectively through stories, because stories are the vehicle through which influence works. If you talk about a person that was in one situation and you show how he overcame adversity or how she overcame adversity and now they're successful and happy, people lock into that and see, well, if it's possible for them, it's possible for me. And when you're trying to guide the people that are supporting you, or you're trying to guide your team towards being the very best they can be, they need to be inspired by stories of the reality of what can happen. So by sharing the stories of inspiration with the people that you talk to, by inspiring them with the tales of success and overcoming adversity and being able to achieve something miraculous, something wonderful, that's the key towards really igniting the entire sense of passion and sense of motivation and sense of excitement in all the people that you lead, in all the team members, in every individual that look to you for leadership, that look to you for motivation, that look to you for inspiration, and that you can truly excite and truly ignite passion inside of. So again, the power of stories cannot be underestimated. Again, start to think to yourself, what are the stories that you can tell that makes a real impact, a real difference to the people that you talk to the people that you work with? What are the stories that really inspire and really motivate? And when you start to share those stories and you allow the stories to impact you, they will impact the people you talk to as well. So, just in summary, what are the 7 essentials of a great leader? Well, as I said, great leaders have vision. They're able to see clearly what is it that they want, where they're going, and they're able to create passion about that. And they're able to share that vision in a compelling way that makes you feel like not only you can achieve it, but you want to. They also are able to be strategic in their thinking. So they're very strategic in what they do and how they think. They're planning for what might go wrong, and they're able to handle it, and they know exactly how they will deal with any challenges that come their way. Innovation. Again, great leaders are able to innovate. They're thinking, well, how else can I do this? What are the things that I need to do? How can I create a new solution to this? What else is possible? And again, they're thinking through using their creativity. Great leaders are great at performance. They're diligent and practicing how they can be at their very, very best more of the time. They're continuously learning and developing, being a student of how they can improve. And by doing so, they're allowing themselves to be at their best more of the time. Great leaders also are great at influencing. They know how to be able to understand the audience. They know how to present themselves in the most persuasive way. They know how to appeal to people using emotions and using logic. They know how to influence and win over people and persuade people's way of thinking to fit their own. Great leaders are understanding of motivation. They have a great understanding of how to motivate people. They understand that motivation is not just about creating a compelling vision or being really great at influencing people. It's also about understanding the individual drivers that make the most difference, the most impact on people. What gets people to feel like they want to come with you. And that's what the great leaders do. And then lastly, great leaders are wonderful storytellers. They can tell a story in a terrific way that maybe changes something a little bit subtle, but yet very, very powerful in a person's mind. They're able to inspire in huge audiences through the stories that they tell. And they're able to capture the imagination of the people that are following them, of their team, in such a way that they really allow that team to be the greatest team they could possibly be. All the individuals rising up so that they're feeling as good as they possibly can feel, they're performing as well as they possibly can. As a team, they're cohesively ensuring that they're being at their very best, moving towards this great vision. I believe those are the 7 most essential key ingredients of all of the greatest leaders out there. Again, we go in on the online Charisma Training Academy. We go deep diving into a number of these modules, for a number of these different essentials on some of the modules. For example, storytelling. We talk quite at length about how to be able to tell stories in a more effective way. If you are interested in that, I'd love to see you on the online training, Charisma Training Academy videos. There's a lot of videos in there and audio products and PDFs. But anyway, you can find out more information on owenfitzpatrick.com about that. But even if you're watching this video and you just ask yourself the question, well, what can I do today? What steps can I take immediately to become a more effective leader, to be able to become more effective as a communicator, to be able to get through and motivate and inspire the people that I work with, or my team, to be able to be at their best? What are the things I can do? Well, again, let's take a couple of things. First of all, figure out what is the greatest thing you could achieve if all of your team was working the very best they could work. What is the greatest thing you could achieve? And once you become real clear in your mind of that, share that with them. Let them see what you believe is possible. When you share that with them, it just makes such a transformative difference, because if you share with them this, if you really raise that expectation, you get them excited. And that's the greatest thing you can do for anyone. Because we live in a world where we go to work and we just do what we're supposed to do. And we blah, 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 blah. What am I supposed to do? Okay, I'll do that. Okay, I'll do that. Oh, I'll sell this. Okay, I'll have to sell that. That's a boring way to live your life. If you can excite them, if you can make them excited about what they're doing, about the grand vision, you're doing them such a favor, but you're also doing yourself such a favor, because it means they look forward to going to work. You go look forward to going to work, because you both know, you all know why you're going to work. Another thing you could do is you could start looking for and finding out more about the people that work for you. Try to figure out, well, what motivates them? What are their drivers? What seems to be important when you say, when you try to motivate someone, when they talk about why they're motivated to do something, what are they talking about? Are they saying, I hope this will really raise my standing in the company? Or they'll say, I like this, I like to be challenged. Listen out for what they tend to be motivated by. Start paying attention to the people that you work with. Start paying attention to the people in your team. The more you do, the more you learn about them, the better able you will be to motivate them, because you'll understand what works. And if you do that, then you'll find yourself getting far more from them than you ever possibly thought was possible. That makes some kind of sense. So anyway, listen, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, for me, this is a collection of 20 years of experience working with some of the greatest leaders in the world, packaging everything that I've learned into what I believe to be the 7 essential ingredients of the greatest leaders out there. I hope you found it valuable. Please do apply what you've learned in this video today. For now, though, please make sure that you go out into the world, you allow the world to impact you, and you make an impact on the world. And of course, make sure that you're always a legend in your own lunchbox. For now, this is Owen Fitzpatrick. Thanks for watching.